right. Good morning, guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks. At least it's morning right now when I'm recording this video. Um, yeah, it's been way too long since I've uploaded a video to my YouTube channel, so I thought I'd sit down and hammer out a few today, since I have a little bit of free time today. Today we're going to be looking at a game that I had in the setter. This is the Tier 7 British Scout Tank. Relatively recent line scouts that were released a couple patches ago, I think. I can't remember how long last patch when these got released. Um this is not gonna be a review of the setter itself. I'm just gonna be commenting on the gameplay mostly. I will give my impressions of this tank, just so you guys know what I think about it as we go along. Um, my initial impressions of the setter are it's bad. Um, I would say terrible, but that wouldn't be fair to it. Because at tier 7 you can still be competitive sometimes in it just because of the competition at the tier, the view ranges of tanks and all that. But as for the tank itself, it's pretty bad. And this is mainly down to multiple factors actually. It's the mobility of it, I think, is probably one of the main things I don't like about it. So it's slower than a lot of scouts at its tier. In fact, I think it's um the only other tier 7 scout that I think that might be as slow as it is the SP1C. It doesn't turn very well, so it's not very maneuverable. It's basically got the mobility of a medium tank ish, and even um maybe even slower than some mediums in the matchmaking that you'll see. So it really struggles against other scouts. The and the other main factor of the setter that I don't like is EM. So the rate of fire and the alpha damage combination in this tank is absolutely atrocious. I think it's like 1300 DPM if I remember correctly, which the French autoloaders, if I remember correctly, get better DPM than this single shot tank. So when an autoloader has better DPM than you don't have an autoloader, that's a problem. Um, I'll make one more comment here and then we'll start the battle. The the what I was hoping for out of these British lights when Wargaming initially released them is that they were going to make these tanks kind of the way they are right now, where they're not maybe the best spotting scout, but they have like this weird hybrid scout tank destroyer role where they would have like really high alpha guns for scouts of their tier. So like for instance, this scout here would have like 250 alpha damage, right? And the tier 8 would have 320 and tier 9 would have 400 and the tier 10 would have 500 or 550, something like that. But that's not what we got. So anyway, I could ramble on about this tank a lot, but as you guys know, I'm capable of. So let's just start the battle, and we'll mainly focus on the battle today in this video. So here we are. It's really nice matchmaking. We're on Malinovka, the best scouting map in the game. And I gotta double check something here in my software just to make sure that the game volume isn't too loud. We'll adjust that a little bit. There we go. And just to let you guys know, the main thing that you guys can do in these scout tanks, at least the tier 7 and the tier 8 that I played so far, these tanks are passive spotters. This is what they do. you guys don't have the rate of fire. I gotta highlight the game client so you guys can see the outline. Um, these that Type 64 was really interesting. I don't know if he had Sixth Sense, like if he was grinding a new crew in his premium tank there, or if he just didn't care that his Sixth Sense went off. So that's kind of weird that he got spotted and didn't move there. So when you guys are passive scouting anywhere, it's always a really good idea to help your teammates prioritize targets. Like if you have enough experience in knowing positions on maps and you know what the most vulnerable or most exposed enemy tank is, where your team has the highest amount of potential to do the most damage to a target or a couple targets, just tee up a target and help them focus down the most important target that's exposed or the target that they can do the most damage to. Either one's really good to do. So yeah, we're nothing special here. We're sitting in the normal passive scouting bush from the north spawn here. So, um, but yeah. So back to what the British Scouts can do. Um, they are not. I decide to leave here. Um, just a quick note. Once the spots dry up and you're not getting more assistance damage, technically there's nothing wrong with you staying there because sometimes the enemy players decide to continue to make movements. But when generally, as a general rule of thumb for me, if I don't get any productivity out of a position for say a half minute to a minute, I generally relocate as far as spotting is concerned. Now, if my position is important for my direct fire role in preventing the enemy from taking a better angle on not only myself but my team, I'll stay in the position anyway, even if I'm not getting as good as spots, because it's important for my team, right? So it's important to be aware that there's two Artie in this game. Um, Another bad thing about the mobility of the British scouts is that they're probably one of the worst scouts at dodging incoming artillery fire because they don't turn very fast. They don't have very good acceleration, um, and their top speed is not very good. So it's really easy for Artie to hit you and pen you. Really lucky track there on the T92 there. And you're gonna see here in my engagement here with the T92, just my reload is so slow considering the alpha damage that this gun has. I don't even remember. I think is it a buck 20 or a buck? It's a buck 35. Okay. So with this rate of fire, bad shot there. It takes me a couple of shots here to kill this T92. And honestly, I'm a really juicy target to Artie right now. And I'm really lucky that Artie hadn't taken a shot at me yet. Another really bad thing about these scouts is that they get set on fire really easily, um, by almost anything. So that's a kind of a general rule for scouts. That a lot of scouts get set on fire easily. The little bit of the difference with at least the setter here and the tier 8, I played the LHM. Um, so I'll talk about the tactical decision making I did there, and I'll increase. You guys can see better. Okay, so the reason that I'm deciding to move up here is because so we've we've stalled there. So we our spotting did a lot of damage to enemy teams that were sitting here along the houses in the south base, and also the sniper perch, the enemy sniper perch here in F7. Now that our teammates up here on top of the hill own the top of the hill, and they're starting to put direct pressure on the enemy tanks that are up here. Um, the so this is a risk versus reward play, right? what I want to do is I want to put pressure on the enemy, any remaining enemies right here. Um, I could take a lot of damage. I might die, but I need to keep putting pressure on the enemy. I have a ton of sniper support here, the perch behind me, to shoot anything that's right here in front of me, and to anything that shoots that's sitting here and here. My main goal is to get down into this dip right here. From here, you can work the enemy out that might be sitting here in F7, and also after that, you can put a lot of pressure on the enemy that are sitting here where this Progetto is, and the rock that's further back here in 0. And also, not only that, but from this right here, if you're on the north team, if you manage to get in here, you can put a lot of vision pressure on these bushes. But this is only contingent on after you've killed any enemies that are right here. Sometimes it takes a little while to flush out the enemies that are sitting here directly behind the snow in F7. Because it's kind of difficult to get an angle of fire on them from your snipers behind you, so you just have to be patient. The time when to decide when to go for this position is generally when there's enough enemies that are dead that it reduces the potential risk of return fire when you're locating to this position, and knowing that most of the enemies are engaged with your teammates. That's also another very big thing. So I felt like this was an acceptable risk to up and continue to put vision pressure on the enemy here. So I knew that this T-34-1 would probably be here, right? So I took a shot of damage there. Luckily he's stock. I'm pretty sure he's stock. Fully upgraded T-34-1s I think have 1050 HP. So now I'm putting all kinds of pressure on this VK that's sitting behind this rock, right? And I'm relatively safe as long as I don't peak too high here. This is actually my first ace ever in the setters, so it was kind of nice to get that out of the way. So right now we're putting some good damage into him, but you can see that our slow rate of fire is kind of making this take longer than it needs to be. I kind of wish that this tank either had higher alpha or faster rate of fire. That was a really cheeky shot that probably shouldn't have hit, to be honest. Just showing you how to use the angles here. You don't want to peak too high when you're working this artillery in the game. You want to use the downslope of this draw here to help protect you from enemy fire, because it's very difficult for Artie to loop a shell over a back slope. So the more that you can use this draw here, the better. Makes it a lot harder for Artie to hit you. The higher you crest, the easier it is for Artie to hit you. And generally Artie sit back here, right? So just keep that in mind. And now that the T-34-1 has died, you can sorry for the stuffy nose, by the way, guys. I'm starting to catch a cold. Cold number 2, by the way, of the season. But now that the T-34-1 has died, I don't have much risk of getting spotted unless I can fire at, right? So just continuing to progress through those positions and continuing to put vision pressure on the enemy. The game's already won at this point. It's kind of been won for a little while now. So now I'm just gonna drive in a little recklessly here, and just so I can get the spots on the enemy team here. This is the part in the game where you can make a good game turn into an ace by being more aggressive. Interesting position on the SU has there. And you see there, we get our fuel tank sit. This tank gets set on fire all the time. And I mean all the time. Shouldn't have stopped to shoot at the Wheezy there in the first place, so I lost all my speed, which made it easier for the SU-100 to hit me. But just look how slow my acceleration is in this Scout. I mean, it's not bad when you compare it to other tanks in general, but it's bad when you consider comparing it to other Scouts. I make a bad engagement in this SU-100 right here. Okay, and I'm going to explain my misplay here. When you're engaging a tank that doesn't have a turret, you need to decide immediately, engage. Do I, like when you're engaging them in a piece of hardcover here, right? And you're doing Ring Around the Rosie. When you make that decision to engage with them, you need to decide, am I going to stay on opposite sides of the solid cover from them, or am I going to push them immediately? And what I did was really bad. I decided to go into limbo mode, and I kind of did neither. And I just kind of stayed on one side of the building. I don't know if free cam working. I'm trying to remember hotkey 7. I don't remember. F3. There we go. All right, my mods are actually working. So, to explain the angle of it. When you're engaging a target that doesn't have a turret, either want to stay on opposite sides of the solid cover that they are if you think that you're not able to get around them before they turn around for you, right? Or when you engage them and you catch them out initially with your first shot, right? And they're not able to shoot you initially, need to, the other option is to continue immediately to wrap around them, right? So I should be chasing him here, right? So I'm close to him if he starts to turn around to shoot me, or I just need to play a Ring Around the Rosie. What I did, and I'll just let the battle play out here from free cam. See how I stopped? You see how I stopped there? When I initially came around for the first shot on the SU, when he came around the corner here, and I shot him just before he came around, and just paused and drove up a little bit more and paused. This is what got me killed. Because he's gonna shoot me and kill me here. Sorry, spoilers. Um, you never ever want to be indecisive engaging a tank destroyer. They do not have a turret. A lot of tank destroyers have a good hull traverse, so you need to be decisive in how you want to fight them. Because if you aren't decisive and you pause, that gives them time to turn around and shoot you, right? So you don't want to give them that time. And I die there, unfortunately. But it was a victory, and it was the first victory for me in the setter, the Terrier 7 British scout tank. Another really bad thing about the British tank scouts that I'm sure everybody knows by now is they have a really low ammo count. I really don't know why Wargaming gave them such low ammo count, unless initially the plans for high alpha um, was in the works in the game, and then they removed it without adjusting the ammo count. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a potential reason the development of these tanks. And then their view range is sub adequate. It's kind of, and then some tiers it's kind of bad for a scout. Like I'm trying to remember if the setter has 370 meters view range. I'm trying to remember. Let me look it up here real quick. View range, view range, view range. Yeah, 370 view range. So there's tier 7 scouts with 390 base view range. Now, this isn't the worst view range, I don't think. I think there's a so the EBR Hotch, obviously the first wheelie, or excuse me, the second wheelie, um, in the French wheelie line, has only 310 meters view, right? But which isn't good. It makes it hard to spot with it. But part of that is compensated for by the really good mobility of it, right? The EBR Hodge, the Tier 7 French Scout. So, um, oh, excuse me, sorry. This cold is really kicking my butt. Um, I don't, so that makes them not the best spotters in the world. They have good camo rating, I'll give them that. But their view range isn't the best. So that view range plus the mobility aspect of it being that you're sluggish slash slow for a scout means that a lot of the time we'll get outspotted by enemy scouts. Um, and a lot of those times are because you won't be in position yet before the enemy scout is in position, and they'll spot you as you're trying to drive into either a passive spotting position or just any kind of position. Right? So I could ramble on a lot about what I don't like about the British lights, but those are more my initial impressions of them so far. Um, Bad DPM, um, good pen. I'll give them that. Good penetration, but bad DPM. Bad for the alpha that they have. Really bad. Bad mobility. Some cases, really bad mobility for a scout. Um, Subpar view range. Um, it just makes for a really awkward combination, and I don't think that they're very good scout. You can get away with it at this tier because at tier 7, a lot of players are still new, learning. You don't have as much vision and mobility competition as you get at the higher tiers. Um, but that doesn't make this a good tank. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this game in the setter on Malinovka, and thank you for indulging my rambling, as always. Um, I will try to pump out and record as many videos as I can today, and then see how I release them. Um, but I wish you guys the best of luck out there. Happy hunting, and take care.